How's it going, everyone? It's your boy, Camden McDonald, the Autistic Historian. Christmas is right around the corner, and you know what that means? Gifts. Gifts galore. So I thought I'd give a special gift to you guys in the form of this video. So in this video, I'm going to be showing off my entire historical collection, starting off with the lowest value historical items that I own, and slowly working all the way up to the most valuable historical item that I own. So let's not waste any more time and get right into it. Alrighty, starting off with the least valuable historical item that I own, it is this boulder. Almost dropped it. That would have been bad. And this wooden stick. Now you might be wondering, a boulder and a stick? What's so historically valuable about that? Well, let me turn this over. Notice anything? Yeah, it's pretty charred black across it, isn't it? Well, what about the boulder? Yep, this is also very charred black, around 65% of it. Now, the main question you might be asking is, why are these items so charred black in some areas? Well, because these things were involved in a very famous fire. Which fire to be specific? Well, the infamous 2013 Yarnell Hill fire. This fire occurred within the hills of Prescott surrounding the towns of Peoples Valley and Yarnell. And 20 members of a group called the Granite Mountain Hotshots did their best to try and stop the fires from reaching both towns. While they were partially successful, it cost 19 members of the group their lives, and thus have been honored as heroes all across America. Now, why do I think these items are so not valuable? Well, because my father easily collected these from the hills of Prescott. So it's actually very easy to find these items because, well, they're all over the mountain. You could easily collect one for yourself and bring it home free of charge. And there's also thousands, and I mean thousands of these things scattered across the hills and valleys. So, of course, you're gonna be able to easily find it. So how much do I think these are worth? Well, if you travel out there, they're technically free. But if people were selling them, maybe $2 at best. Alrighty, moving on to the next artifact. It is this. Now, yes, this is a collection of pennies, so that technically means I only have 12 cents in my hand. But that price may be higher, because all these pennies are pretty dang old. How old exactly? Well, allow me to read the following dates, in order also. 1960, 1964, 1967, 1968, 1969, 1972, 1973, 1977, 1978, 1979, 1980, and 1981. Now, what you might notice about all these pennies is that every single one of them was made before the year 1982. Why? Well, Congress introduced something new that said all pennies made after 1981 were to be made with only 5% copper. Now, how much were they beforehand? 95% copper. So all of these are actually pretty dang old and pretty dang valuable. I don't know how valuable exactly, but I have heard somewhere on the internet that these pennies also have certain letters on them, and depending on how old they are with a certain letter, they could run up for quite a bit of money. I think I've seen some pennies that could be valued up to around $200, but I'm not an expert at that, so any penny enthusiasts out there, please let me know, because I would love to know the value. But for now, how valuable are these? I would say around $20, and that's also at best, because maybe these could also run for around 15 to 16. Alrighty, moving on to the next artifact. It is this. Now, this aircraft in this original printed photo is of a C-141 Starlifter. This exact aircraft in this photo is currently on display at March Air Force Base Museum located in Riverside, California. Now, I've only been there once in my entire life, and that was when I was like 3 or 4 years old, so I have little to no memory of it. And I'm hoping to go back in the future, and when I do, I definitely will make a video about it, so stay tuned. Now, I don't know the backstory behind this entire thing, but looking at the text that's on the top and bottom of this thing, I think I can kind of piece together where this originated from. So it states, Chief Master Sergeant Joe Crump, with highest esteem and best wishes from the Non-Commissioned Officers 63rd Military Aircraft Wing, July 1971. So there's a couple clues I could already make out. Judging by what this says, I'm pretty sure this entire thing was gifted to Chief Master Sergeant Joe Crump by the Non-Commissioned Officers 63rd Military Aircraft Wing. Now the date, July 1971, I don't know if that is the date of this original printed photo, when it was taken, or when this was gifted to him. Now, like I said, I don't know the backstory of it, so I could be entirely wrong about everything, but it was worth a shot trying. Now, how valuable is this? Well, judging by the original printed photo, July 1971, it's over 40 years old, so I would say maybe $45. But that's probably at best as well, so maybe at its lowest, $30. Alrighty, moving on to the next one, which is honestly my personal favorite, and it also fits in the theme of Christmas, is this Christmas ornament. Now, yes, it is a Christmas ornament, sure, but it's actually valuable because of what it holds within it. You see this black thing that's covered by this piece of glass? That is a piece of coal, and the coal is under this glass, which is actually filled to the brim with water to keep it preserved. Now, you might be wondering, coal underwater being preserved? Why is that valuable? Well, look at the wording that is read on the top and bottom of the steering wheel. RMS Titanic. That's right. This Christmas ornament holds a piece of coal actually recovered from the real wreck of the RMS Titanic. You don't believe me? Well, in that case, doubter, I have this to prove it. This is a certificate of authenticity to prove that what I am holding is actually valuable. And it states, Certificate of Authenticity. This coal was recovered from the wreck of Titanic during the 1994 Titanic Research and Recovery Expedition, authenticated by RMS Titanic Inc., object number 345 out of 704. This coal, which is a limited piece of history, remains the only authentic artifact recovered from Titanic's wreck site available for purchase. Now, with that last sentence alone, you already know that this increases the value of this thing by quite the margin. So it also stated that only 704 of these were ever created, meaning, if my math checks out, that less than 0.5% of the world's population owns one of these in their household, and I am one of them. Now, I got this from the Las Vegas Titanic Museum back in 2021, if I'm correct. And yes, this is number 345, so I was around halfway down the list of people to purchase this. Now, judging by what I just told you, that automatically means that this thing is quite pricey. How pricey exactly? I don't know. But judging by how only 704 of these were made and what it holds within it, something from the actual wreck of the Titanic, I would say maybe around $55 is probably the best that I can put this at. Alrighty, moving on to the next historical artifact. It is right behind me. This is a wheel. Now, I'm pretty sure that was kind of obvious to you guys, but this wheel is pretty special because it's not like a wheel that you'll find on any ordinary car. You see the name written in big fonts in the center of it? Do you know what that says? Yes, Vekoma. And if there are any roller coaster nerds out there, then you know that Vekoma is a roller coaster manufacturer company. So I'm pretty sure you've already pieced it together at this point. This is a wheel from a roller coaster. But which roller coaster? And where? Well, let me take you back to the year 1990 to a small little theme park down in Orange County, California called Knott's Berry Farm. That year, they opened up a brand new roller coaster and it was named Boomerang. People really loved it. And in the year 2015, young me, who had never ridden a roller coaster that big before, decided to finally break my fear and ride it. And when I did, I instantly fell in love with it. So it was Boomerang that got me off of my fear of roller coasters and was the very first roller coaster that I ever ridden with an inversion. So Boomerang, you could say, was the one that got me off of my fear of roller coasters. But unfortunately, in 2017, Knott's Berry Farm announced something devastating. They were gonna remove Boomerang. Devastated was kind of an understatement. I wanted to actually cry. That's how sad I was. But yeah, in 2017, they closed it and officially tore it down. I was sad, and my mother realized how sad I was. So she actually emailed Knott's, telling him, hey, my son really loved your roller coaster, but now that it's down, he would like to have a piece from it. And just to clarify, I never asked for a piece of the ride, so I don't know where she was coming from that, but regardless. A couple weeks later, I get a box in the mail, and in said box was this, an actual wheel from Boomerang. Now, I don't know what wheel exactly, but looking at photos and judging by its weird shape, I'm pretty sure this wheel was on the bottom of the car connected by a little pipe and rode along the side of the roller coaster track, maybe on the inside or outside, either one, to keep the car from going off the tracks. I might be wrong about that, but it was worth a shot. So how expensive do I think this is? I don't really know, because Boomerang is back up and running at a park somewhere in Philadelphia, if I read correctly. So I would say this wheel could go for about $75, and that's probably at best as well. Alrighty, with this next historical artifact, we are immediately jumping from the double digits in price to the triple digits with this. Now, I know this kind of looks like a Guinness World Records title, and I wish I had one of myself, but unfortunately this isn't. What this actually is a letter in this large glass frame. By whom and to whom? Well, looking at the name on the top, that says the White House. So I'm pretty sure you can already tell who might have wrote this letter, if the signature wasn't already a dead giveaway. Because this signature is from the president and most historic president of the 21st century, Donald J. Trump, who, FYI, is the second president in U.S. history to serve 2 non-consecutive terms after 22nd and 24th President Grover Cleveland. Now that alone is already a pretty historical significance for the presidency of the United States. Now, how we got this letter is actually a pretty funny story. Because my middle brother Carson, back when he was in junior hockey, he actually had a couple games up in Washington, D.C., and because Trump was president around that time, this was back in 2017 if I'm correct, keep that year in mind because it's part of the story, he decided, hey, what if I write a letter to Trump asking him to come over to one of my games? That's exactly what he did. He sent it, then a couple weeks later, they went over to the game, and no Trump was in sight. He didn't show up. That was kind of heartbreaking for Carson, but hey, you live, you learn. They went back home, and for 2 whole years, we completely forgot about that. Until this thing pops into the mail 2 whole years later, signed by Donald Trump. Now, the actual letter in question, I don't think was actually written by Trump. And that's because it says the following. Dear Carson, thank you for taking the time to write to me. I always enjoy hearing from young Americans like you. As your president, I want you to know that I am listening and will always work hard for you. Together, we will determine the course of America and the world for many years to come, and we will create a better future for you and your family. I encourage you to do your best in school each day, never stop learning, and look for ways to make positive changes in your community. With best wishes, Donald Trump. And just to remind you, Carson sent him a letter asking him to come over to a hockey game. And that's what came back. So yeah, that obviously proves that Trump himself didn't probably write this letter, but what is obviously confirmed is this big fat signature on the bottom. And I've seen on eBay, Trump's signatures are very dang pricey because he's not only an A-list celebrity, but now he's increased in value. That sounds a little weird, but he as a whole is now more famous because he's the second president in U.S. history to serve 2 non-consecutive terms, which for the 21st century is a huge achievement for America. So this has already jumped up in price. And like I said, I've seen some of these on eBay, and they can range from $200 to $400. Now, I don't know the exact price that I would list this specific one at, but judging by it's in its original frame, it hasn't been taken out yet, so I would say this could go around $450, and that's also probably at its best price. Alrighty guys, this next item is officially the second most valuable historical artifact in my collection, and it is this thing. Let me just quickly take it out. This is a US $100 bill. Now I'm pretty sure that was kind of obvious to you guys, but you might notice something. This looks a little bit different than today's modern $100 bills. That's because this is an oldie. How old, you may ask? Well, written on here, it says date 1990. So this is a 26-year-old $100 bill. Now it already increases its price, but by how much? Well, I have a clue. Because on the back of it, it has this written text. And this written text says, May 26, 2001, $251. Now, that was only 11 years after this was created, and it already rocketed in price by $151. So that already puts the price tag of this thing into perspective. But this probably isn't accounting for the later 2008 financial crisis and then COVID-19, so it probably dropped in value. But if we're sticking to what this says, then by my math, I would say this is close to $650. But that is also if my math checks out. But like I said, that's probably not accounting for the financial crises that we've had before that probably dropped this thing in value. But still, it's possibly valued at close to $600. Alrighty guys, but before we reach the most valuable historical artifact in my collection, it's time to get to some honorable mentions. Now, what do I mean by honorable mentions? Well, I mean historical items that are A, don't have any historical significance to them, but are representing a historical event and are collectible items, or B, they are historical and are pretty famous, but I am unaware of their value or if they truly are historical. So with that note, let's start off with this Lego model of the RMS Lusitania. Now this came from the private Lego company Histobrick. And when I say Lego company, I technically mean they use actual manufactured Lego bricks, but they aren't part of Lego. It was created by a man named Tom, if I'm getting his name correct. And these things are actually really pricey. Because the last time I checked this thing was around $200 to $300 just for this small model. Now why so pricey, you may ask? Well, because Tom puts a lot of effort into hand packaging each piece, hand crafting and building and planning each and every model. He puts a lot of effort into these things, and I applaud him for it. Now moving on to the next one. It is this coin. Now, this coin has the face of 35th U.S. President John F. Kennedy, and on the bottom reads the date 1964, which was 1 year after his infamous assassination. Now, I don't remember the exact story, but if I'm correct, when Carson and my father went up to New York, again for another hockey game, they went to the JFK Museum and got this. Now, I don't know if this is truly a limited item or if it truly is just a collectible, but regardless, it's still pretty cool, so I'm keeping it in the collection. Now moving on to the next two artifacts, they're pretty special because they were both given to me by the same family. And they are this and this. Well, let's start with this one. This is a US $1 million bill. Okay, that doesn't exist. But this one does, but it's not worth anything. And that's kind of obvious because it was made for play use. But on the back, it has an entire lecture as to why. Now, you can pause right here and read the entire thing if you want to, but in a simplified tone, this is basically saying, this may look real, but if you take it to a bank and try to have it processed, it's gonna say it's fake. It's just like how many Christians around the world claim to know Jesus, but in reality do no such thing. And it's basically saying in a nutshell that this is representing Christians who aren't really Christians, and you gotta be on the lookout for fakies and stay loyal to Jesus Christ. Now, I really love that message that they put on the back of it. And this was given to me by Patrick Knatzer, the owner of Paris Valley Skydive Airport, and his sister, Melanie Knatzer, was the one who gave me this. This is actually a wristband. Now, I don't think I can put it back on because I've grown a bit, and I don't think I want to rip it. Oh, but it still fits. And it obviously reads VIP Jet, and on the front, it reads 7724. On July 7th, 2024, was the time I got the famous opportunity, well, not famous wasn't the right word, I got the best opportunity of my life, and that was to ride in their DC-9 Type 21 aircraft. which is A, one of the rarest aircraft in the world, B, the last of its kind, and C, the only jet in the world dedicated to skydiving, which is bonkers. And Melanie knew that I was such a big part of their life, and I'm also writing a book about their airport. So when I finally got the opportunity to ride the jet, she personally gave me this wristband, wrote VIP jet the day, and told me, "We value you. You're a good person to this airport, and we can never do enough for you. So we're giving you this ride." And it was just very sweet. And I want to say thank you so much, Melanie, for giving me the opportunity. Now, if I could easily remove this without, why is my hand so sweaty? There we go. Now, moving on to the next one. It is this. This is a hot dog certificate for California Baptist University. Now, this specific one was for the date 2021 and 2022. Now, if you're unfamiliar, when California Baptist University does their basketball games, in the second half of the game, if the opposing team misses 2 free throws, then everyone in the stadium gets free hot dogs for the next game. And they give them this certificate to prove it. Now, this certificate unfortunately fell through the cracks of our car, so we were unaware of its existence until recently when I finally picked it up out of the car while doing some cleaning. So this is actually pretty valuable, I guess, because everyone already spent their hot dog certificates just to get a free hot dog, but I'm one of the only ones who didn't because, well, I didn't know it existed until now. So it's actually kind of cool, I might say. Now, the last one for the honorable mentions is this. Now, yes, it is a Thomas toy. You might think I'm like 9 or 10 years old, but hey, I'm autistic. I still love Thomas the Train. It was valuable to my childhood, so I'm standing by my stance. I think I said that right, but whatever. You get what I'm trying to say. This specifically is a Thomas Comes to Breakfast Wooden Railway toy. Now, it's special because this is actually a limited edition item. Only 50,000 of these things were ever created, and that means less than 1% of the world's population owns one of these in their household, myself including. So that already jump rockets its price, and we got this by itself without the other thing that comes with it, and that alone had this thing at like $150. So I would say this is also maybe around maybe $200 at best, because it's collectible, it's rare, and I don't think I'm still seeing these things being sold on eBay. Alrighty guys, we have reached the most valuable historical artifact that I have collected. Drum roll please. This. Now let me slowly take this out, because these bits are kind of fragile. This is a piece of paper, and on said piece of paper are 3 little pieces of carbon fiber, with one of these things actually having glass on them. Now, these pieces of carbon fiber were manufactured onto a helicopter that was manufactured on May 30th, 1991. That helicopter was numbered N9UT, and in the year 2007, it was then bought by the government of the state of Illinois to transport the governor and other officials around the state. When she was purchased, her number was then changed to N761LL. But in 2015, it was sold for $515,000, if I'm correct, to a private helicopter company here in California called Island Express Holding Incorporated. And then in 2017 or 16, another private helicopter company, OC Helicopters, teamed up with famous NBA basketball legend Kobe Bryant to purchase the helicopter and use it for his own use to travel around California without having to fight LA traffic. That's right, you've pieced it together already. These 3 pieces of carbon fiber were on Kobe Bryant's infamous helicopter. Now, that already jump rockets its price by quite a bit, but what makes these even more valuable is obviously what they're involved with, a tragedy. On January 26, 2020, the helicopter, piloted by Eros O'Brien and carrying Kobe, his daughter Gianna's 2 teammates, Alyssa Altabelli and Peyton Chester, their parents, and the head coach of the basketball team, Christina Mauser, crashed in the hills of Calabasas, California after Era became spatially disoriented while in the low clouds, tragically taking the lives of all 9 occupants on board. Now, that made news headlines all around the world, and I remember hearing that, and even I was awestruck, and that was coming from a not-so-big basketball fan at the time. Then, 3 years later, on January 10th, me and my father traveled out to the crash site so I could film for a video, link in the description below. During that visit, I found these 3 pieces covered in dirt, but partially exposed to the outside air. The reason because the previous day, it rained, so it probably uncovered these pieces that were originally buried by the dirt. When I found them, I immediately took them home and taped them to this piece of paper. Now, these are probably the only pieces of Kobe Bryant's helicopter that are on display at someone's house and owned by someone like me. So that alone already makes these things very valuable. How valuable, you may ask? I believe these are in the 4 to even maybe 5-digit numbers of the dollar spectrum. I think I'm screwing myself over. Whatever. I believe that if I were to sell these on eBay, these things could range from $5,000 to maybe even close to $10,000. That's right, I'm probably holding $5,000 to $10,000 in my hand right now. Now, yes, that means I'm probably going to be a thousandaire if I sell these. A thousandaire? No, that doesn't exist. You get what I mean. But obviously, I'm not going to sell these because these are obviously very historical, and I want to preserve these and keep them at my house for as long as I can, and keep the memory of Kobe and the rest of the passengers alive. Alrighty guys, that's going to conclude this episode. Thank you all so much for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and click the bell so you never miss out on any more of my historical content. And hey, have a Merry Christmas, and I will hopefully see you in the next video. Peace.